understanding the values of a curing barn, the difference of the qualities of a curing barn, whether the fields or seeds, being able to have that overarching picture of what you're doing to create a masterpiece. That really came by living in the factory. So I lived in the factory for 14 years. It was almost 16 years really, where it wasn't like you live a block away or a mile away and come once a month. I mean, I lived in the first 6 years, I didn't come home other than the trade show. And after that, it was 250 days minimum a year in Nicaragua. And I lived in it. My room was actually, I bought my air conditioner from Nick Perdomo's father for $250. It was probably worth $10, okay? Shit, some black clouds of crap coming out of it. All right? But the point is, the experiential marketing that you see these days from, you know, the internet and marketing companies and stuff like that, it's true. People love the experience. But the difference is living it, living the brand, living the lifestyle. That's really, for me, I think what separates us from a lot of the other companies and distinguishes our decorated past so that we can compete with a Padron, with a Tutti Fuente, who I consider to be top level of cigar manufacturing. So with that being said, it's a great honor for us to be able to continue with Barnsmoker, have a great turnout. People come to learn a little bit, enjoy themselves, get some goodies, and spend some time. Here in the barn, this section of the tour for you guys is about the. We good? Got a nice case. Yeah. This section of the tour is what we call a curing barn. And a curing barn, what you see here is very primitive, right? The curing barn, they putting up a curing barn like this costs about 100 grand. It's not expensive, serves the purpose. This is what I like. This is an old school curing barn. This is not the curing barn when you go to see Nestor Plasencia, you go to see when the Israelis came to Cuba, they created the Cubans and the Israelis together. That's lethal. That's lethal. They created something called the cow freezer. The cow freezer is a total different animal than this. All the walls are sealed. You know, when you go to your local cigar shop and you see how it's perfectly humidified, they got the little gauge to tell you the temperature, the humidity. If they're exceptional, they'll know the dew point, like we do in Nicaragua. Those are what they're looking for in a curing barn. They have certain goals they want to achieve. Are you going to best achieve those goals with a broken ass looking, sorry ass looking curing barn that's old school primitive? Or are you best going to achieve those goals by having a perfectly made $200,000, $500,000, they were even spending more on the earliest cow freezers, perfectly controlled environment? Which one is going to get you to your goals more effectively, more efficiently? And it's a very interesting outcome, because what are your goals is the question. And that's what we're here to learn. The goals of the curing barn are very simple. It's to turn the tobacco from green to yellow to orange to brown. That's it. That's the goal. Now, the second goal is where we start talking about money. The farmer, his goal is to do like all of us. He wants to make money, wants to feed his family, wants to better his lifestyle and everything else, so he's looking for yield. What he wants to do is, you want to get what's called the auto. You want to get the wrapper. As much wrapper leaf as possible. When you think about filler, binder, and wrapper, you varying in price point, and you going up the scale. You never want to say, hey, I'm going to grow this wrapper leaf, put all the money to growing wrapper leaf, and say, look at this beautiful binder I got, and look at this incredible filler. Our wrapper came out like shit, but we got this great filler. You just lost your ass. Now, if you're growing filler, and you wind up with binder or wrapper, 5%, 8%, 10%, you made a killing, right? What you're looking for is predictability. Creating the predictability is what a cow freezer allots you, because the farmer will be able to get tobacco to come out of the barn. You think when you put the tobacco here, or you put the tobacco up in that corner up there, or you put the tobacco down over there, you think it's the same? It don't cure the same. You guys, anybody here like bourbon? Please, somebody here. Yeah. Right. So when you have your bourbon, and you say, well, how did they make this bourbon? All right, so they distilled some grain, whatever grain dudes into. It might be corn, it could be wheat, like the Pappy Van Winkle dudes. It could be it could be any type of grain. All right. After you've made that product, you barrel it. Once that barrel goes into the barn, your dump might be 2 barrels from the first floor, 1 barrel from the second floor, and 5 from floor 8. That exact same bourbon that's put up there into those different floors, 3 barrels from floor 3 and 10 barrels from floor 4 is a whole different blend. Just the moving around in the barn where the bourbon is stored year after year, right? 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever amount of years it is, that is going to make the bourbon taste different just from the way the sun is in the barn, the positioning of the material, whether it's rotated or not. Very simple things are going to give the little nuances that would make the difference between XYZ black label and XYZ double black. They might put a stave in there, give out some extra oak, right? Very simple differences can make something taste very, very different. But to the farmer, separate from the taste, what he's looking for is uniformity in the material. So when you're taking a leaf of tobacco, when you're taking a leaf of tobacco, this is what's called a stalk. Typically, when you see on a tobacco farm, people either prime the tobacco, where they come and they remove the leaves from the bottom, and then they move through the tobacco. You can even look on the farm, you say, wow, that looks weird, there's just the tops. Where's the whole middle of the plant? That's been primed. What we do here in Connecticut, in the Connecticut River Valley, they take the whole stalk, they cut it, and they hang it. You guys have seen it, you're here, but this material is stalk hung. What does it do for you? It gives you a different outcome than if you're priming it in taste, because what's happening? The nutrients that's getting delivered into the tobacco are going to be greater. There's going to be more nutrients continuing to give from the stalk to the tobacco during the entire process. When you're taking tobacco on the farm, on the field, the more you space that tobacco apart, the greater space you give it between the lines and between the seeds means that the tobacco is getting more water, means the tobacco is getting more nutrients. It's basic, right? What's going to happen if your tobacco is getting more water and more nutrients? It's going to be stronger. The tobacco is going to be more sound, what we call sundo. That tobacco is going to have different taste characteristics and different physical attributes than if the tobacco is positioned closer together. All of these fine details are what's going to add up to the variation in tobacco of what you sell it for as a farmer and what you buy it for as a manufacturer, because that's what we are at True State. We don't own no farm, zero. Every year I come to Barnsmoker and I go, we're getting ready to own a farm. And then I can't get nobody on the board of directors, give me the money to get a farm. It's okay, because that's not our core competency at True State. Our core competency is manufacturing, okay? One of the best farmers in the entire world who's ever lived, Nestor Placencia Sr. His son is just as good as him. Their core competency is farming. That's what they do. No one does it better. ASP, it's at the level. Oliva tobacco, but where our core competencies are on the manufacturing side. So for us, when we go to a farm like this, and we buy tobacco, what characteristics are we looking for, and why does a curing barn like this present a better opportunity for me? Because it's the characteristics that I'm looking for in the tobacco that we wanted to deliver in a Liga Privada number 9, in a T52, which is a Habano seed grown here in the Connecticut River Valley, or the cigar, the wrapper that we use on the All Out Kings. We don't make a lot of different cigars from those different leaves that we purchase from here. We're looking for what's called heavy leaf. When I talk about heavy leaf, you think about heavy, you think about dark leaf tobaccos. Heavy leaf tobacco, Habano tobacco from Connecticut River Valley, Liga 9 tobacco, which is broadleaf variety. Mexican, San Andreas tobacco, that real thick Mexican beautiful leaf that you see. Brazilian. When people talk about Brazilian tobacco, you might be thinking Mata Fina, Mata Sul, Mata Norte, Arapiraca. Those are all different regions within Brazil. I'm talking about the heavy leaf that I like is Mata Fina. All of those heavy leaf tobaccos are what we call darks. The other side of that are what we call brights. A bright tobacco could be a Connecticut shade tobacco, could be an Indonesian tobacco. It could be some forms of Habano tobacco depending on where it's grown. If you grow Habano in Mexico, if you grow Habano in Brazil, it's going to be a bright tobacco. So there's characteristics to how you blend, which is stuff that I don't know if Willie covers it so much, but this is the genesis of it right here. The field is where it starts. After the field, people say the seed is where it starts. Maybe it's the dude who's, where the dude was born, in what city he was born in Havana. Everybody's got a story, but for me, the place that makes the most difference to me is when it hits the barn. That's why I like to give the presentation on my side here from the barn. Maybe next year I'll switch out because, I talk a lot of shit. So, but from here, I love these barns here in Connecticut. They're rustic, they're raw, the way Cuban tobacco was originally cultivated and hung. It's really just you getting all of the properties. What happens when you go to a cigar shop and you buy a little humidor? What does it do tell you? Hey, open your box up every month. Even if you don't smoke from that box this month, you might have 3 humidors. He say, hey, make sure you open the humidor up and let's turn the cigars around every month. You guys know why he's telling you that? It's the same reason when you go to the cigar factory and you see us on the floor with big pillows, 4,000 to 8,000 pounds of tobacco piled up on top of each other. They're very decorative and beautiful. Sometimes you walk into a cigar shop, you see that Padron little thing of the old man Orlando and George in front of those big tobacco things. Those are called pilons, pylons. Those pylons only require airflow, water, heat, and pressure to basically ferment the tobacco. It's the same thing when it's being hung. Same thing on the humidor when you buy it from the cigar shop and he says, I want you to turn your cigars. Same thing you walk into a cigar shop. If you left the door closed and just let that humidifier run in there, you ruin it. You create mold. You create an environment that's not going to be conducive for bettering the tobacco. Here on the tobacco barn, what you're really looking to do is allow humidity to attack the tobacco. You want water, humidity, to come into the barn. You want to then shed the humidity and dry the tobacco. Then the next day, you want to repeat the process over and over and over again, just like we do on the floor at the factory. We're taking the piles of tobacco, 4,000 to 8,000 pounds. We move the tobacco from one pile to the other pile. It gets to 115 degrees, 120 degrees. Take the tobacco, shake out the tobacco, move it back to the other side and create the pile again. 1 week, 10 days later, you get to your number. It's going to drop each time. When it stops dropping, when the tobacco no longer heats up, you know you've reached your point where the tobacco is ready to go into bales, get pressed into bales, and go onto the storage. That process is very important. The thicker the tobacco, the longer you can continue to put the pilon through the process. So when you think about tobaccos, you think of the seco, viso, lejero. You guys have heard that before for filler tobaccos. Seco, viso, lejero. Seco is the low tobacco. Your viso is the middle tobacco. Your lejero is the top of the tobacco. That's going to be your thickest. That's what I look for. That's what I want from Liga Privada products. But we're too big of a company to just walk over here and go, hey, we want to buy all this lejero. We're the biggest purchaser in the valley most years. Sometimes we're the second biggest. No one's going to just give us all of their cream of the crop. They go, yeah, you want it, you buy everything. You're going to buy the lejero, the viso, the seco, even scrap. You got to buy it all. And then you get one price. So we have to make sure we have a home for all that tobacco. Everything is integrated in what we do, just like the cigar industry is integrated. People say, oh, that's a Dutch Master. That's a joke. Well, that's a Swisher Sweet. That ain't a real cigar. It's very much a real cigar. The ecosystem for what we do, super premium, value price for bundled cigars, mass market cigars, the Swishers and the Dutch Masters and the Palmas and all that stuff. All of that area is all an ecosystem. We live and breathe together. If we no longer can do mass market cigars, what do you think will happen to the prices of your value Oliva bundles or La Vieja Havana or any Nick Perdomo inexpensive stuff, whatever those Toro Fuente curly heads? What do you think will happen to all those brands, Padron and Perdomo and Oliva and Drew? They're all going to go up. It's one ecosystem because all this tobacco that's grown, we all need to use it up. You can't just pick and let tons of tobacco go to waste because it just won't work like that. So everything that we do, whether we're making a brand like Liga Privada, you guys know the brand Undercrown?
Yep.
The The story of Underground is a true story. The story of Underground is a beautiful, romantic, true story. These dudes were smoking those Liga Privadas all day long. They were loving it. Our production guys on the factory floor, they're smoking Liga Privada. So we would say to them, hey, listen, you can have one a day or whatever, but we really would like for you to smoke something else. They finally got pissed off, and what did they do? They created their own brand to make that they could smoke every day. That was the Underground. You think that the Underground tobaccos that are used are less premium than Liga Privada? They're really not. The difference in price for us to make them is not that much extraordinarily different. Maybe it's about 65 cents on the wrapper. Whenever you make a cigar, I want you to think of it like this. Your wrapper is 1/3 of your cost. Your binder and filler is 1/3 of your cost. And your labor is 1/3 of your cost. That's what I'm talking about. It's called direct costs. That's not going to be your indirect costs, your lighting system, all your different stuff. So, well, that's it. That's what you get. That's why. Hang on. Hello. Oh, it's Mom. That's why I say to you guys, whoever has not been on Cigar Safari, remember what I told you early on. How do you compete? How do you compete? Are you full of shit? How do you got good marketing? So we got graphic guys really good. We got that too. You compete because you know what you're doing. You live in the factory and you blow shit up. You make mistakes. You burn tobacco. You cook it wrong. You let it in the pilon too long. I tell you, seco viso ligero. What do you think happens when you take that seco leaf, that thin leaf that's from the bottom of the plant? That's going to be in the pilon for 6 months. It's going to be ready. If you put that tobacco with a viso or a ligero and it sits in the pilon for a year and a half, 2 years, what happens to that tobacco? You pull that tobacco out of the pilon, you go to roll it on the cigar floor, what happens? It cracks. The tobacco rips, right? So your tobacco won't be sound. When you hold that tobacco up to the light, you're going to look at it, you're going to see all little holes in it, little tiny, tiny holes. You got to look at it in the light. Because the cut that we're looking for has to be sound. If that tobacco is processed too long in the pilon, what happens? It loses its structural integrity and it starts to fall apart. Thereby, when you put it onto the floor to roll and the cigar roller takes its fingers and pushes, it snaps. You just lost a wrapper, 92 cents. 92 cents. Your cost $1.80. Your cost $2.40. Your cost with taxes $3. Boom, in one shot. We'll talk more. Go to Cigar Safari. I want you guys all to go. Come with us. Bring your wife. We like to have husband and wife, father and son, friends come. So that's it. Go to your next spot, and I'll see you guys after during lunch.